Hello, my name is Susan Burnham, and I am going to explain the picturing language illustration I drew of the short story The Warning. Um, the, the illustration is set up in frames that are numbered to understand the sequence or the flow of the story. In the story, in frame 1, we have a character named Ronnie. This illustration was made so that the reader could have a visual of the setting of the story is at an airplane factory. In this in the first frame, Ronnie is driving into the parking lot and he's waving hello at the guard. He's in the car waving. I have speaking bubbles of Ronnie and the guard greeting one another. There's also a sign at the guard shack to let the reader know that that is a guard shack. The airplane factory is in the background because in the story it says Ronnie likes working there. Also, the building is large in the background. In the second frame, what's going on here is Ronnie has entered into the big building and he has come to his desk where he's putting down his keys. He's surprised to find a letter from his boss, Mr. Burns, stating that Ronnie should come to see him upon his arrival. It explains the content for the rest of the story. This frame does, I believe. It starts to explain the content of the rest of the story and helps the flow of the story. So Ronnie sees the letter from Mr. Burns and the memo from Mr. Burns to come and see him. So then in frame 3, Ronnie has a look of concern on his face as he continues to now wonder why Mr. Burns wants to see him. It says that Ronnie is walking along a hallway, contemplating his meeting with Mr. Burns. He's contemplating because he's unsure of what was wrong. He's making guesses. I think he kind of has an idea of the problem at hand is his absences. So then in frame 4, Ronnie makes his way to Mr. Burns' office. He continues to be concerned as he's asked by the secretary to wait for Mr. Burns. Ronnie, he continues to wonder as he waits to see Mr. Burns, and he seems nervous because he says something even about the time and how 10 minutes has seemed like a long time. He's still wondering like what it could be. Then in frame 5, we have Ronnie upon entering Mr. Burns' office. Mr. Burns greets Ronnie and Ronnie greets him. Then Mr. Burns gets straight to the point, the reason why he wanted to see Ronnie, and it was because of Ronnie's absences. So he tells Ronnie of his concerns. Asking him, was there a problem? Mr. Byrne confronts Ronnie about the absences. His absences are affecting his production. So we have Ronnie standing in front of Mr. Burns, explaining that there is, no problem, that he's just been tired. And then going to the meat of the story is Mr. Burns he's giving Ronnie a written warning about his absences, and he's telling Ronnie that the the consequences if Ronnie continues to miss work. So I hope this makes sense. Yep, this is my explanation of the warning in picture language.